A simple office desk from nothing but scrap wood. That's what we're going to build today. In this video, I'm going to make, let me rephrase that, I'm going to make an attempt to make a simple office desk completely out of scrap wood. Now, I have never tried anything like this before. I never done a glue up to create a long board out of scrap wood. So to make my life easier or harder, I'm not sure which one, I'm going to be using pocket hole to hold all the pieces together for the glue up. Now, it might end up in a disaster or it might just work out. I have really no idea. So let's find out. Here is the stack of maple, oak, and walnut scrap hardwood that I'm going to use for this tabletop. The frame that the top is going to sit on is going to be from 2x6 pine. I start with resawing everything to 2-inch width. Next, I spent some time trying different layouts. I did not have a definite plan, just something that's going to look good. Once I had an idea of the pattern, I wanted to add a strip of walnut right in the middle. I mentioned earlier that I was not sure if using pocket hole was a good idea or not. I already knew I had to drill a lot of holes, so I decided to drill the pocket holes as I went along, gluing every piece. this point, I have realized a few mistakes I was making. When I was drilling on top of the pieces, wood shavings were getting in between and under. I constantly had to stop and clean. Also noticed it was getting difficult to keep everything flat for the glue up. Making the pocket holes on top of a garbage can solved the cleanup issue, and putting everything on pipe clamps allowed me to have better control over the pieces I was gluing. Pipe clamps are great options to have a whole bunch of clamps for glue up without paying a big price. Best thing I like about them, I can just use different sizes of pipes to make them any sizes I need. Pipes cost much less than a full bar clamp of the similar size. To make it easy on me, I finished the glue up of the tabletop in 2 halves, and I gave them a little over 2 days for the glue to dry completely. And now I am joining them together, and pipe clamps worked really great. Despite of all of my best effort, it looks like I ended up with few glue up mistakes. There appears to be some gaps in between the wood pieces, and there's some gaps are quite large. I'm using some light colored wood filler to fill in all the gaps, and hopefully they will just blend right in. Someone once said there are very little mistakes that cannot be fixed when it comes to woodworking. After using the wood filler to fill in the gaps, I have to say I do believe. No, sanding is not fun. Next time I have to make sure that I line up a few audiobooks or podcasts, so I'm actually putting those sanding time to good use. Here I flip the tabletop upside down just to take a look. As you can see, these are a lot of pocket holes, and I am not too sure if I'll use the same method again if I am building another tabletop or large piece. And while I was sanding, I noticed that the tabletop is not flat, and I also was not sure if just the pocket holes and the glue is going to hold this tabletop when we start putting load on it. So I decided to put a sheet of 1/2-inch plywood that I had left over from another project and just glue it and then screw it to the tabletop just to give it a little bit more stability, and hopefully it will keep everything together. It is quite possible that just the pocket holes and the glue is going to hold this tabletop together just fine. I may not need to add this plywood backing, but I didn't want to risk it. I'm using a 40 teeth circular saw blade to trim the edges. Hopefully the higher teeth count will help me get a cleaner cut. With a straight edge clamp, I thought I was doing pretty good trimming the edge with the circular saw until I saw this. And I thought my circular saw was a goner. What I did not realize was I was actually cutting through one of the 1 1/4 inch screw that I used to hold the plywood backing. To trim the longer side of the table, I used one of the leftover plywood's factory edge as a straight edge. The trick I learned last week is to use painter's tape to reduce tear out when using the circular saw. Since the circular saw blade is going to exit from the top of the tabletop, I wanted to reduce the tear out as much as possible, and it worked out pretty good. To hide the two layers of the tabletop, I am going to add some trimming, and here I'm using just regular pine for the trim. I'm not going to use regular wood glue to attach these trims to the tabletop. I am going to use contact cement. I have never used this before, but it's supposed to work as good as wood glue without the mess. The way it works, you apply the contact cement on both faces of the two pieces that you are going to join together. Then you wait 10 to 15 minutes for both sides to dry. Then put them together with some pressure, and within seconds they are joined together. Here is a great example of using pipe clamp. I have this 7-foot long pipe that I'm going to use with my glue clamp or pipe clamp to apply the pressure to attach the trims to the tabletop. Just by switching out this pipe with a smaller one, I can use the same clamp for a smaller project. If I were to go and buy a regular clamp of the same size, I am very sure it would have been a lot of money. I'm using regular 2x6 pine lumber to make the legs and the frame for the tabletop. I'm not going with the traditional 4 legs design. Instead, I am going to have 2 legs but wider legs. So I'm going to join 2 2x6s together to create that board. Add some design feature. I'm going to take a curved slice off from each of the 2 boards, and then I'm going to attach that slice under each legs. Since I do not have a bandsaw, I'm going to use the jigsaw to make that curved cut. In my opinion, I believe that the jigsaw is one of the most versatile and essential tool for a beginner woodworker. I think adding this extra piece under the legs is going to provide extra stability because now the table is going to sit on wider base. Since this is going to be under the table, I am only going to be sanding these two legs with 80 grit sandpaper, and then we are going to apply some dark walnut stain on it. I'm using two more 2x6 pine lumber to connect the two legs together to create some sort of frame that the tabletop is going to sit on. You noticed I already stained those two legs. Another rookie mistake. I did not think the whole process through. I should have waited till these two support pieces were done, then stain the whole thing. I'm going to add some glue in addition to the pocket hole screws just to hold everything together, and that glue is now going to leave some mess as it dries. Here you can see the frame put together. I added the clamp just to add some pressure because I noticed those two legs were not fully square and it needed some additional pressure so that the glue could have proper contact. This is probably the most satisfying part of all woodworking, is to apply the final finish and see the color and the pattern pop. It is now time to finish this project through some finishing touches and a series of bad decisions. You noticed I'm using Danish oil to start with. Was not a good idea. Because of the pigments in Danish oil, it really left some blotchiness on those maple strips, and that was not any expected outcome. I left it overnight for the Danish oil to dry completely and think about my next move. This morning, I noticed some roughness on the surface and around the edges, so I decided to use a 220 grit sandpaper just to lightly sand the whole thing. To undo some of the aesthetic damages that were done by using Danish oil, I decided to use a thin coat of light red oak stain. I was not sure if it was a good idea at that time, but as I was applying it, it looked pretty good, and in the end, after it was all done, I'm glad that I added it because it looks really good. Again, I left it overnight for the red oak stain to dry completely. This morning I am applying a glossy clear finish on it. I probably did not need to add this clear coat because it looks shiny enough already, but I wanted to add more shine to it, and also I wanted to add some kind of protection because it is a tabletop and it is going to be used. So I added 3 layers of this clear coat, and I used a 400 grit sandpaper to sand in between. And at the end, I think it looks really good, and it is flat, it is really smooth. To prepare the surface, I started with 80 grit sandpaper, then I moved to 120 grit, and I kind of stopped there because I knew I was going to add a clear coat on it. I did not see the need to go any further. After all the mistakes in this project, I am quite happy with the end. With my limited skills and limited knowledge, this turned out much better than what I imagined. Every mistake is an opportunity to learn something, and that's what it's all about. I do thank you for watching this video. If you have any comments or any suggestions, please leave them in the comments. Please subscribe if you have not done so, and I will see you in the next video.